Good afternoon. Javier Becerra, Attorney General for the great state of California. I'm pleased today to be joined by the U.S. Attorney for the Eastern District of California, McGregor Scott. And we both have members of our teams who are here who have made today's announcement possible. So we want to begin first by acknowledging the men and women who day in and day out make it possible for the U.S. Attorney and I to actually say to the people of California and to this country that we've got their back. It's important to start off by mentioning that what we're discussing is a case that yet has to be tried, but it is important to discuss it now because it's about combating drug abuse. And you don't combat drug abuse by yourself. It is a team effort. Whether it's your family or with your friends or among members of your community, whether it's the community service organizations or whether it's law enforcement. No one, and certainly not the person who's addicted and in need of help, can do it alone. At the same time, drug abuse is not a one-person crime. Beyond the user, oftentimes the crime involves the manufacture, the distribution, the dispensing of a drug in an improper way. That's why we're standing here together to say that those who illegally prescribe drugs, including opioids, will be prosecuted to the full extent of the law. The case we're here to describe today is an example of the state and federal government working together and state and federal law enforcement working together to crack down on the illegal prescription of drugs. It is a practice that we must stop. I want to, at this point, acknowledge again the work that our special agents within the California Department of Justice, our Division of Law Enforcement, have done in investigating this case. Our agents just recently arrested Dr. Satendra Kumar Chopra, a Modesto physician. On April 19th, a federal grand jury brought a 23-count indictment against him. He is charged with prescribing opioids, including Norco, to multiple patients, and of doing so outside of the usual course of professional practice and without a legitimate medical purpose. I will leave it to U.S. Attorney Scott to elaborate on the charges against Dr. Chopra. Let me turn your attention, however, to this map. You can see from this map that Dr. Chopra prescribed drugs to patients far and wide. This arrest and indictment are the result of our federal and state investigators working together to get this done. And with the help of the federal government and the U.S. Attorney's Office, they will move forward with the prosecution of Dr. Chopra. Our Bureau of Medi-Cal Fraud and Elder Abuse works to combat the harmful practices of drug overprescription on behalf of all Californians. We accomplish this goal through criminal investigations that can include undercover operations. This case is an example of the power of undercover operations. In this case, our team went undercover to investigate Dr. Chopra's practices. It's important to remember, again, that when we talk about Dr. Chopra and these charges, they're right now only allegations. I again want to thank the law enforcement officers at the federal and state level who made this investigation and this indictment possible. But it's important to remember that all of us, whether in your community, whether in your job, we can help fight prescription drug abuse. All Californians can help keep drugs out of the wrong hands. This Saturday is National Prescription Drug Take-Back Day. Cities and counties throughout our state are setting up safe disposal sites where anyone can bring unused and expired medications. We in law enforcement can't simply arrest our way out of this crisis. It takes all of us working together. We can all play a role in combating this epidemic, helping people heal, and preventing addiction in the first place. And so that's why it's so important. If we work together, we can get this done. And for that reason, let me now turn the microphone over to our U.S. Attorney for the Eastern District of California, McGregor Scott.
Thank you, General Becerra. Last Thursday, a federal grand jury sitting in Fresno returned a 23-count indictment against Dr. Satendra Chopra, a pulmonology doctor in Modesto. In general terms, the indictment alleges that the defendant, on multiple occasions, for cash, sold prescriptions for large quantities of highly addictive opioid drugs such as Norco and Xanax without any legitimate medical necessity. Specifically, the indictment alleges that between March 2017 and March 2018, the defendant sold prescriptions for hydrocodone, i.e. Norco, in return for cash without legitimate medical necessity to undercover agents on 14 occasions. He sold alprazolam, i.e. Xanax, in return for cash without legitimate medical necessity to undercover agents on 6 occasions, and that he sold promethazine, i.e. cough syrup with codeine, for cash without any legitimate medical necessity to undercover agents on 2 occasions. Earlier today, as the General mentioned, the defendant was arrested and transported to the Fresno County Jail, where he remains in custody. The defendant faces a statutory maximum of 20 years in the federal penitentiary. He remains presumed innocent if and until proven guilty. In early March 2018, the DEA suspended his legal right to issue prescriptions. With proper medical examination, these opioid drugs can have a legitimate medical purpose, namely as a painkiller. Improper use, however, can lead to all kinds of problems, including overdose deaths. Unfortunately, over the last years, there has been a massive nationwide problem with improper use of opioids. To quote a recent Ninth Circuit Court opinion on this issue, quote, "There is now an epic crisis of deadly opioid abuse and overuse. In 2016, roughly 11.5 million people in the United States misused prescription opioids. That same year, 116 on average died every day from opioid-related drug overdoses. And in 2017, the acting Secretary of Health and Human Services declared the national opioid abuse epidemic a public health emergency." End quote. While much of this epidemic is centered in the Appalachian section of the country, we in the West are not immune. In an effort to push back on this national crisis, Attorney General Jeff Sessions has set the investigation and prosecution of illegal opioid abuse cases as a top priority for the United States Department of Justice. I'm extremely pleased that my office has worked very collaboratively with the California Department of Justice and its Bureau of Medi-Cal Fraud and Elder Abuse Drug Diversion team on this case. Simply put, Cal DOJ, working with the DEA, conducted this investigation, and the U.S. Attorney's Office is prosecuting the case. Assistant United States Attorney Vincenza Rabin is leading our prosecution team. The FBI and the IRS are continuing with aspects of this investigation we are not at liberty to discuss today. This is a terrific alliance of resources to bring to bear on this problem in our part of the nation. I commend General Becerra and his team for their first-rate work on this investigation and the team approach to prosecution. I look forward to similar team investigations and prosecutions between our offices in the future. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you all for attending. Appreciate it.
Thank you, John.